Imagine this. You're walking through a dark forest. You don't shout, you don't sing, you don't light a torch, because something might be out there, watching, waiting. What if the universe is exactly like that? Then, tonight, we explore the terrifying possibility that alien civilizations are out there, but they're hiding, and for a very good reason. Chapter 1. The silence between the stars. Let's start with something that feels off. For decades now, we've been listening. Huge radio dishes aimed at the sky, space probes carrying golden records, broadcasts sent into the void. If life is out, they're intelligent. Life, we've been trying to say hello, but no one ever says anything back. The silence is loud, it's endless, and it's starting to feel personal. This is what scientists call the Fermi paradox, named after physicist Enrico Fermi, who once asked a very simple but powerful question during lunch. Where is everybody? If the universe is so big, so old, and filled with billions of stars and, likely, billions of planets, then, where are all the civilizations? The odds say we shouldn't be alone. So why does it feel like we are? Let's break this down. Right now, we know there are at least 100 billion galaxies in the observable universe. That's not planets, that's galaxies. And in each of those galaxies, hundreds of billions of stars. And many of those stars, they have planets. Some of those planets are rocky. Some are in the habitable zone. Some might even have water. So again, statistically speaking, we shouldn't be special. We're not saying aliens should be knocking on our door, but by now, we'd expect at least something. A signal, a pattern in the sky, evidence of a distant structure, a radio wave that doesn't fit nature. Even a faint whisper would do. But there's nothing. Just silence. Always silence. And that silence, it's weird, because silence is actually very rare in nature. Most environments on Earth, at least, are full of signals. The jungle, the ocean, even the desert. There are always signs of life. Sounds, movements, shadows. So why is the cosmos so quiet? Some scientists think it's just a matter of time, that the universe is big, and light takes time to travel. Maybe their signals just haven't reached us yet. Maybe ours haven't reached them. We're like two ships passing in the dark, a million years apart. That's possible, but others aren't so sure. Because here is the thing. Even if just a tiny fraction of intelligent civilizations lasted long enough to build advanced technology, we should still have seen something by now. 1%, 1/10 of 1%, even less. That should still leave traces if they're out there. And yet, ... still nothing. This leads us to a more chilling thought. Maybe the silence isn't accidental. Maybe it's not a gap in communication. Maybe it's a warning. Let's say you're in a forest. It's pitch black. You can't see more than a few feet ahead. You don't know what's out there. Do you shout? Do you light a fire? Do you make yourself known? Or do you stay silent? Because something might be listening. The universe might be the same way. Not empty, just quiet, on purpose. We assume that intelligent life would want to connect, to explore, to share. But that's our assumption, based on our psychology, our values. What if survival works differently out there? What if silence is safety? That idea is where things start to get dark. And I mean that literally and metaphorically. We'll talk more about that in the next chapter. But for now, here's something to sit with. What if the silence between the stars isn't because no one's out there, ... but because everyone is hiding? And worse, what if we're the only ones still making noise? The story of the universe isn't just about stars and galaxies. It's also about risk, fear, and instinct. Maybe the ones who survived were the ones who stayed hidden. Maybe that's the rule, not the exception. And maybe we're about to learn that the hard way. The next time you look up at the night sky, think about how much space is out there. Not just physical distance, but emotional space, philosophical space, generational space. Think about how much trust it would take to send a signal into the dark, not knowing what's on the other side. Would you do it? Would you risk everything just to know you're not alone? Because that's what we've done, over and over again. We've sent out greetings, radio waves, binary code, drawings of atoms, music from Earth, instructions to find us, maps. We've told the universe where we live, how we think, how we feel. We've painted a target on ourselves, not with weapons, but with curiosity. It's bold, it's brave, it's also maybe reckless. Because what if no one else is broadcasting? What if we're the only ones speaking in a forest full of listeners? What if the others learned, long ago, that it's safer to be silent? This is the mystery we're stuck with, a paradox that grows deeper the more we learn. Every telescope we build, every star we scan, every exoplanet we discover, it all points to the same uncomfortable truth. The numbers say we should not be alone, but reality keeps saying otherwise. Maybe we'll find a signal tomorrow, or 1,000 years from now. Maybe we'll discover ruins on a distant moon, or intercept something we can't decode. But until then, we listen. And the silence, it continues. Chapter 2. Entered the dark forest. In the last chapter, we asked a simple question. Why is the universe so quiet? Now, let's go deeper. What if the silence is not a coincidence, but a survival strategy? There's a theory, dark, unsettling, and strangely convincing, that might explain everything. It's called the dark forest theory. At first glance, it sounds like science fiction. And it is, at least in origin. The idea was made famous by Liu Cixin, a Chinese author, in his novel The Three-Body Problem, and its sequel, The Dark Forest. But what makes this theory so powerful is that it's grounded in logic, not fantasy. So what does it say? It starts with a metaphor. Imagine the universe as a vast forest at night, cold, silent, endless. You're one of countless hunters walking through it. You can't see far. You don't know who else is out there. You don't know their intentions. Are they friendly, curious, violent? And that's the point, you can't know. So what do? You stay quiet. You don't make a sound. You don't light a fire. Because if someone hears you, and they decide you're a threat, they might shoot first. In a dark forest, every noise is dangerous. Every signal, every word, every light. It tells others exactly where you are. And in a universe where survival is uncertain, where the cost of a mistake is total destruction, no one wants to take that risk. That's the core of the dark forest theory. Every intelligent civilization in the universe, if it wants to survive, must remain silent. Why? Because they don't know who's out there, and more importantly, they can't afford to find out the hard way. Let's break that down. There are 3 basic truths behind the theory. 1. Survival is the highest priority of any civilization. Whether it's bacteria, animals, or advanced aliens, staying alive comes first. That's universal. 2. Resources in the universe are finite. Even if space is vast, energy, habitable planets, and safe zones are limited. That creates competition, potential conflict. 3. You can't know the true intentions of other civilizations. Even if another species appears peaceful, how can you be sure they'll stay that way? Maybe they evolve, maybe they change, or maybe they're lying. Now combine all 3. You have many civilizations. All want to survive. All are unsure about each other. And none can risk being found by someone dangerous. So what's the safest move? Stay silent. Hide. Observe. And if you do detect another civilization, destroy them before they destroy you. It's not personal. It's not evil. It's just the safest bet. This is where things get scary, because if the dark forest theory is true, then the universe isn't just silent, it's actively silent. The silence we hear might be the result of 1 billion civilizations choosing not to speak. Or, worse, the silence might be the aftermath, a graveyard of those who made too much noise. And here we are, shouting into the void. We've sent messages, we've beamed signals, we've launched probes with maps of Earth and greetings in 55 languages. We've announced our presence again and again, but what if no one answered? Not because they can't, but because they're afraid. Or what if someone heard Dan decided to stay silent in return? That's what makes this theory so terrifying. It flips the usual story. We like to imagine a universe full of eager explorers, scientists and artists, advanced minds who want to teach and share. We assume that intelligence leads to kindness, or at least curiosity. But what if it leads to fear? What if intelligence doesn't make a civilization generous, but cautious? Let's be honest, even on Earth, with all our technology and culture, we don't always trust each other. Nations spy on each other. Companies hide secrets. People lie, compete, protect their resources. And we all live on the same planet, breathe the same air, share the same biology. Now, imagine meeting a life form that evolved under different rules, on a different world, with unknown motivations. How do you trust that? How do you trust anything that alien? You can't. Not really. So maybe the safest move, the only move, is to disappear, to listen, but never reply, to survive by hiding. Some scientists think this is exactly what's happening. They call it cosmic paranoia, a kind of deep, evolutionary instinct that tells civilizations to shut up and stay hidden. And in that context, our actions, our signals, our broadcasts, our satellites look less like science and more like shouting in a minefield. Because if the forest is dark, full of hunters, the last thing you want to do is call attention to yourself. There's another possibility, one that's even worse. What if there were once thousands of civilizations out there, and they all made the same mistake? They spoke, they reached out, they said, hello, and someone, or something, heard them, but didn't reply. What if silence is the result of a pattern repeated again and again? Speak gives, get found, gives get erased, and maybe that's why the forest is so quiet now. We're not hearing others, because the ones who spoke are already gone. This theory doesn't say aliens are evil. It doesn't say they're planning an invasion. In fact, it doesn't assume any malice at all. It just says, you don't take that risk, and the more advanced you are, the more you realize it. So what does that mean for us? It means we might be naive, or brave, or both. It means we're one of the loudest voices in a universe that's gone quiet. It means we might not fully understand what kind of game we're playing. And maybe, just maybe, we've already broken the rules. Chapter 3. Why they might be hiding. Let's ask a simple but uncomfortable question. What exactly are alien civilizations afraid of? If the universe is full of intelligent life and, if the dark forest theory is right, then it means others out there have made the same decision, to hide. But why? What are they trying to avoid? To understand that, we need to shift our mindset. Forget aliens with green skin and flying saucers. Forget friendly greetings or galactic peace treaties. The truth is likely far stranger and far more practical. The first and most important fear is destruction. In the vastness of space, there are no second chances. If another civilization finds you and decides you're a threat, even just potentially, that might be the end. One mistake, one wrong signal, one flash of misunderstanding, and your entire species is gone. That's not drama, that's logic. We've seen this play out here on Earth. In history, when two groups with vastly different technologies or worldviews meet, it often ends badly for the weaker side. Just ask the civilizations that once thrived in South America, or the island peoples whose cultures were erased in a generation. And in those cases, we were all human. So imagine the risks when the other side isn't just foreign but alien. A completely different biology, different language, senses, emotions, instincts. You can't predict what they value. You can't assume they'll show mercy. They might not even recognize you as life. And if their technology is ahead of ours, we wouldn't even see it coming. The second fear is resource competition. Even in a giant universe, valuable resources might be rare. Things like habitable planets, energy-rich systems, or stable star zones. If two civilizations find the same prize, they might fight over it. Or worse, one might eliminate the other in advance, just to remove future competition. It's cold, it's calculating, but again it's survival. The third fear is more abstract, but just as serious. The fear of the unknown. Let's say you detect a signal. It's intelligent. It came from 500 light years away. It's complex, structured, possibly even beautiful. What do? Do you respond? Or do you wonder, who are they? Are they still alive? Or is the signal a trap? What if they're listening right now? The truth is, you can never know. Not fully. And that's what makes communication so dangerous. Once you reveal yourself, you can't undo it. Your position is exposed. Your technology level is guessed. Your biology, your culture, your language, it all becomes data. Information another civilization can analyze, judge, and use. They might decide you're too primitive, or too aggressive, or too similar, and they might act before you even have a chance to explain. So what's the safer option? Say nothing. Observe, wait, learn, but never speak first. This strategy isn't just about caution, it's about control. When you're silent, you control the flow of information. You watch without being watched. You learn without being known. And that gives you a powerful edge. Now let's flip the script. From their point of view, what do we look like? We're loud. We're unpredictable. We send out messages without knowing who might hear. We announce ourselves with pride, not fear. We broadcast music, math, images of our species, even instructions on how to find us. To a cautious alien civilization, that's not brave. That's reckless. They might not see us as interesting. They might see us as dangerous, a civilization too bold for its own good. And if they follow the dark forest logic, they'll do what they've always done. Say nothing, stay hidden, watch from a distance, or if they really feel threatened, remove the risk before it grows. That's the darkest version of the theory, one where survival doesn't reward those who are friendly or curious, but those who act fast and without hesitation. But there's another angle, one that's even more chilling. What if the reason they hide is because they already made a mistake once? What if some ancient civilization sent out a message long ago, just like we're doing now? And what if something answered? Not a friend, not a teacher, but something cold, powerful, and indifferent. What if the universe isn't just a dark forest filled with hunters? What if it has apex predators, entities that don't speak, that don't share, that only act when they hear someone else calling out? It's pure speculation, but it makes you think. Maybe the quiet ones are the survivors. Maybe they know something we don't, or maybe they've seen something we haven't. There's a reason why some scientists, even now, argue against active sending messages into space. They believe we're playing a game we don't understand, that we're children shouting into the dark, not knowing what might answer. Stephen Hawking once warned about this. He said, if aliens visit us, the outcome might be similar to when Columbus landed in America, which didn't turn out well for the Native Americans. That wasn't a science fiction quote. That was a real concern from one of the smartest minds on Earth. He believed that staying quiet might be our best chance of survival. So let's bring this back to the original question. Why might alien civilizations be hiding? Because they've run the numbers, because they've seen the risks, because they understand the game better than we do, and because, in the cold math of survival, silence wins. We like to think we're ready to meet whoever's out there, that we can handle it, that our curiosity is worth the danger. But maybe they've already answered that question for themselves, and they chose not to risk it. They chose silence. They chose to disappear into the shadows. And as the years go on, and we keep listening, maybe we'll begin to understand why. Maybe we'll look at our own broadcasts, our own signals, and wonder, were we too loud, too soon, too trusting? In the next chapter, we'll take that question a step further. We'll ask, what if Earth is the loudest voice in the forest? And what if someone is already listening? Chapter 4. Are we the loudest voice in the forest? So far, we've talked about why alien civilizations might choose to hide. Now, it's time to talk about us. Because while others may be staying quiet, we're doing the exact opposite. Humans are loud, cosmically loud. For over a century, we've been leaking radio waves into space, TV signals, military radar, satellite communication, music, movies, everything from game shows to war reports, drifting into the stars like static on a cosmic radio. And more than that, we've sent intentional messages. In 1974, we beamed the Arecibo message into space. It was a coded message meant for intelligent beings, containing information about humanity, Earth, and basic math. We've launched the Voyager probes, each carrying a golden recorder time capsule of music, greetings, and images of life on Earth. We've mapped out where we live. We've pointed to our star. We've said, this is who we are. This is where you can find us. And maybe ... we shouldn't have. Because if the dark forest theory is right, then every message we send makes us more visible. We are not whispering. We are not hiding. We are shouting into the void. And that raises the question, are we the loudest voice in the forest? If so, what does that mean? Let's go back to the metaphor. In a dark forest, a hunter lights a torch and yells, I'm here. If other hunters are hiding watching, they now have a choice. Do they step forward? Do they stay hidden? Or do they remove the noise before it attracts something worse? This is where things get uncomfortable, because we may already be in too deep. Radio waves from Earth have been traveling through space for nearly 100 years. That means any civilization within 100 light years of us could have already heard something if they're listening. And there are a lot of stars in that range, at least a few thousand. We don't know who lives out there, or if anyone does. But if they do, they've had time to notice us. And here's the hard part. We can't take it back. Once a signal is out, it's out forever. It keeps going. Through nebulae, across systems, past stars we haven't even named yet. It's history, and it's still traveling. So if we've been heard, it's too late to hide. The forest already knows. Some argue that it's not a big deal, that our signals are weak, that space is too noisy for anyone to pick them up clearly, that even if someone did, they'd need incredibly sensitive equipment to decode it. Maybe they're right, but what if they're not? What if someone out there is more advanced than us? A lot more advanced? Let's be honest. We tend to assume we're important, that we're at the top of the chain. But what if we're still at the bottom? What if we're the wildlife, and someone else is doing the observing? If so, we've just made their job easier. We've given them everything. Our biology, our technology, our culture, our politics. They know what we sound like, what we look like, what we eat, what we fear. And the most chilling part, we don't know if they're watching, because they wouldn't need to tell us. If they've learned the rules of the dark forest, they're not going to make a sound, not a flash, not a signal, nothing, and they'll wait. So the real question becomes, what kind of attention have we invited? Some scientists say the risk is overblown, that any intelligent species would be curious like us, that they'd understand we're still learning, that they'd want to help, not harm. But that's a gamble, a huge one. We're assuming others will think like us, that they'll value peace, knowledge, connection. But the truth is, we don't know. They might value silence. They might value control. They might value survival over everything else. So let's imagine this from their point of view. You're an advanced species. You've remained hidden for millennia. You scan the skies regularly, looking for signs of life. And then, one day, you detect a small, noisy world around a yellow star. The signals are random at first, then more structured, then intentional. You realize they're trying to talk. What do? Do you respond? Do you stay silent? Or do you decide it's better to make sure they never speak again? That's the risk we're taking. Every signal we send into space is a roll of the dice, and we're not just doing it once. We're doing it constantly. Our entire digital world is wrapped in electromagnetic energy. It's everywhere. Satellites, broadcasts, internet relays, they all leak into space. We're the campfire in the middle of the forest, warm, bright, obvious, and maybe vulnerable. Now, it's important to say this isn't about fear-mongering. It's not saying we should panic. It's not saying we're doomed, but it is saying something simple and serious. We don't know who else out there. And in that kind of uncertainty, being the loudest voice might not be the safest strategy. Some scientists now suggest we pause all active efforts to message aliens, that we focus on listening, not speaking, that we treat the universe with more caution. Because right now, we don't know if we're alone. But if we're not, then someone or something might already know we're here. And in the next chapter, we'll face the hardest question of all. Now that we've made ourselves known, do we keep speaking, or do we go quiet? Chapter 5. The choice ahead. We've come a long way. We started with a question. Why is the universe silent? We explored a possibility that alien civilizations are out there, but they're hiding on purpose. We considered the theory that the universe is a dark forest, and every intelligent species knows better than to shout. Then we turned inward and realized that we've been shouting for a long time. Now, we've reached the final question. Do we stop? Do we fall silent? Do we step back into the shadows and hope it's not too late? Or do we keep talking because silence feels like giving up? This is the choice ahead. And it's not easy. Let's look at both paths. The case for silence. It's simple. We don't know what's out there. And in the absence of certainty, the safest move is caution. This is how animals survive in the wild. It's how tribes survived on ancient Earth. You don't reveal your position unless you have to. You don't call out in the dark. You listen. You wait. If every civilization that's lasted longer than us follows this logic, it makes sense that we haven't heard anything. They're not gone. They're just smarter than us. More careful. More experienced. We're the newcomers. The young species, the bold teenager at a quiet gathering of old, silent watchers. And we've already said too much. Some scientists argue that we should shut down all active transmissions. No more signals, no more greetings to the stars. We should focus on monitoring the skies, mapping exoplanets, understanding our own limits. In short, stop trying to talk until we know who's listening. Because once a signal is sent, you can't take it back. And the price of the wrong message could be everything. The case for continuing. But there's another side. What if we're the only ones left? What if the silence isn't because others are hiding, but because they're gone, destroyed, extinct, silenced by war, disaster, or time? What if we're the last voice in the universe? And if we stop speaking, the cosmos goes quiet forever. That's a heavy thought, but it's not impossible. Maybe our job isn't to hide. Maybe it's to connect. Maybe someone out there is listening, waiting for a sign that they're not alone. And if we fall silent, we may miss the one chance we ever had to reach them. After all, communication is what makes us human. It's how we build bridges, share ideas, form bonds. Maybe that same instinct to reach out into the unknown is what pushes civilizations forward. If we stay quiet forever, we might protect ourselves, but we might also doom ourselves to loneliness. So, we're stuck, caught between two choices that feel equally impossible. Speak and risk everything, or stay silent and lose the one thing that makes life meaningful: connection. Maybe the real answer isn't silence or noise. Maybe it's balance. Maybe we need to be more careful not about what we say, but how we say it. Maybe we should ask different questions. Not is anyone out there, but are you safe? Are you like us? Do you know fear like we do? Maybe we send messages that show we understand the danger, that we're not naive, that we've learned from history, that we're not just curious, we're cautious too. Maybe that earns us trust, or maybe it earns us time. We don't know. But here's the truth. The universe isn't waiting for us to decide. Every day, our signals travel farther. Every year, more information leaves Earth. We may not be able to undo the past, but we can shape the future. And that means we need to think carefully. Now, what kind of species do we want to be? The bold explorer, the careful observer, the silent survivor, or something else entirely? It's a question we may not answer in our lifetime, or even in our century, but the choice is already in motion. We've spoken, we've reached out, we've made ourselves visible. Now, we wait. And maybe, one day, we'll hear something. A whisper, a pattern, a reply, and when that happens, we'll know the silence is over. Closing reflection: the universe may be silent, but it's not empty. It's watching, it's waiting, and so are we. So here's a question for you. Before you sleep, if you were in the dark forest, ... would you speak, or would you stay hidden and hope someone else understands? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear how you see it. And if you enjoyed drifting through the quiet mysteries of the cosmos, consider subscribing. We explore questions like this every week. Until next time, sleep well. If you can, what do you think? Should humanity stay silent or keep reaching out into the dark? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy drifting into the unknown like this, hit like and subscribe. We explore these cosmic mysteries every week. Sleep well if you can.